Deeney refuses return, Arsenal find a speedy solution, Neymar to stay another year, a transfer roundup and this week's great debate all coming up in the next few minutes as I'm your host Matt Folick, you are the Onefootballers and this is the Daily News. So first up, and Troy Deeney has refused to return to Watford training because he doesn't want to risk passing any infection onto his family. Now Deeney said this yesterday, well the video came out yesterday on a YouTube channel a few hours before the Premier League confirmed that of all the testing they'd done on players and coaches in the Premier League, 6 of them returned positive for COVID-19. One of them is apparently at Watford. So Deeney maybe foresaw this or was well within his right to not want to go to training because of health warnings. Now, of course, this is completely and utterly thrown up Project Restart into a bit of a madness because although yesterday most teams returned to small group training in the Premier League, there is also Deeney and a few others who have voiced massive concerns about not only returning to training, but returning to football as well. Now in comparison, Bundesliga did about double the tests but only had a few more COVID-19 cases and well, at the weekend the Bundesliga returned rather without a hitch. As for the Premier League, well, they've identified June the 12th/13th as the return to action date, much like Serie A, but it looks like it may be pushed back just a few more weeks. Of course, they do have until the end of July to finish the current season because in August, that's when UEFA has said everything needs to be done and dusted because not only are they going to finish the current Europa and Champions League seasons, but they're also going to start qualifiers for next year's campaigns as well. As to whether or not Deeney is right in doing this, I completely agree. I really just do not get on social media people like, it's your job, get back to work. It's not a necessary job. Like, he's not a key worker. The British government and the British people have said that it's super entertaining and it will lift the spirits of the nation and they want the footballers to come back. Great. So do I. So does every football fan. We'd love for the Premier League to come back. But surely when you're putting lives at risk, and Deeney rightly so with a young child at home with asthmatic problems, definitely doesn't want to catch it and then pass it to his child. Like, honestly, there is no way that you can force someone to go to work in a risky environment. I don't care who they are, how much money they're being paid, or anything like that. That is completely and utterly their decision. Anyway, away from that and on to some transfer news, because according to reports in France, Leverkusen's French winger Moussa Dembele is interesting Arsenal. Now, the winger actually only signed for Leverkusen last summer, and although he had a slow start to his career in Germany, he's made a really good go of it since about the turn of November. He scored on his first start for the club and since then has amassed 27 appearances, 17 of which have been starts, and well, he's done a fine job as well. The thing is with Dembele, he is just raw pace. So if you ever watched him play, including the 2 assists that he got on Monday night's victory over Werder Bremen, you'll know he gets his head down, shifts the ball, and he is so quick. This, for me, kind of solves Arsenal's problems. Sometimes they put Aubameyang out wide when they've got Lacazette through the middle, and they try to utilise Aubameyang's pace. Don't get me wrong, it makes sense. Someone's quick, put them out wide, down the line, they're going to cause all sorts of havoc. But actually having a wide midfielder like Dembele out there, rather than just a quick striker who's kind of filling in out on the left or right, this could really work wonders. I mean, imagine if Lacazette goes this summer and Arsenal's front three is Pepe on one side, Dembele on the other, and then Aubameyang through the middle. That would be a pretty mean front three. Maybe enough to fire them back into the Champions League. Anyway, as I mentioned before, Leverkusen did only sign him last summer, and they're going to want upwards of 30 million for him should they sell him this summer. That's probably Leverkusen's idea of a massive number because transfer fees aren't so high in Germany. Whereas for Arsenal or for any Premier League team, 30 million's like, really? That cheap? Yeah, sure, we're about to spend 50 million on Gylfi Sigurdsson, so why not? But talking of transfer fees, which definitely aren't minimal, and there's Neymar. Of course there is. Now, Wagner Ribeiro is a Brazilian agent / advisor who's pretty close to the Neymar family, and he said he thinks that the PSG star will be staying in Paris for at least one more season. Now, this isn't exactly something that you need to conclude even if you weren't necessarily someone who's closer to the family. I mean, it's pretty much to see that you could put 2 and 2 together. There's a cheaper transfer market going on because of COVID-19. Clubs don't want to spend that much money, so no one's going to pay 200 million for Neymar. You don't need to be a genius to figure it out, but that's pretty much what Wagner Ribeiro has said. But the other problem that this does bring along is that Neymar has 2 years left on his deal. Now, of course, they can discuss a new deal with him at any time, but if he stays next season, plays the whole season, doesn't quite sign a new contract, then PSG get into the territory of next summer. They have 1 year left on Neymar's deal and he could leave for a free. Like we spoke about it before a few weeks ago. Imagine spending 222 million euros on a player. Then a few years later, when he's, he'll be 29 in 2022, I believe. When he's 29, pretty much at the prime of his career, he'll be going on a free. Like, surely they're not going to let that happen. But if he is to stay, they pretty much need to get onto him every single day and try and get a new contract in the works. Because if not, they could be rather embarrassed by the end of it. So next up, in a quick roundup of the transfer news that you may have missed, and Inter Milan are the latest club to show an interest in Dortmund's Achraf Hakimi, who is currently on loan from Real Madrid. Juventus are keeping tabs on Wolves Mexican forward Raul Jimenez. Chelsea have offered a new one-year deal to Willy Caballero for some reason, despite the fact he's 38 and absolutely terrible. And lastly but not least, Lille sporting director Luis Campos is apparently asked to leave the club as he looks to link up with good friend Jose Mourinho at Tottenham. So finally, we come to this week's great debate. I'm asking you guys a big question this week, and I know there hasn't been much football on TV, but I'm pretty sure you guys can still remember the kits. So we want to know, which is the worst sponsor on this year's kit? For me, it has to be Stevenage. I mean, it's a pretty terrible kit all round, and then you just can't help but look at it and think, my word, what is a massive Burger King logo doing in the middle of the shirt? I mean, despite the fact it looks ugly, that's also a fast food. The types which should never be associated with highly performing athletic individuals. This just does not go in reality or even on the kit. It's just awful. Anyway, you guys let me know your thoughts down below on the great debate and of course the rest of today's daily news. Whilst you're at it, smash the like button and click here or here to check out all of the other videos we've got going on OneFootball. But until next time, I'll see you guys later.